But what I want to remind athletes that having character doesn't mean you're a sellout. Having character doesn't mean you have to kiss somebody's bottom or, whatever. That's not character, right? For me, character was just being who you are, right? I was very passionate in what I did, but I was also respectful. And I think character just really comes down to being respectful.
Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Brown, the author of the book Uncommon Athletes, filled with passion, fueled by purpose. I'm excited to have with me a young lady I've known for a while who's truly a passionate young lady about everything that she does on and off the court. I had the pleasure of watching her grow up and mature as a basketball player from good old elementary, middle school days. We go back to Crestview Middle School.
Yes.
Winning championships there, winning State League championships at Brookhaven High School. And he basically been a state championship team there as well at Brookhaven. Then went on to a great career at Penn State University, where led her team to the Final Four, Kodak All-American, went on to play in the WNBA, a successful career there, and now just being Helen Darling, doing what she does. I want to remind people, make sure they subscribe and like the channel so I can continue to bring these. So Helen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for having me.
Yeah. Let's jump right in talking about you growing up in a sports family. Your dads and your brothers participated in sports. Was basketball always your first love?
No. Ironically, my first love was track and field, and I loved FloJo.
Okay.
And so I would run track, and I kept losing. I could do no better than third place. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I got introduced to basketball by Coach Bruce Howard in the 6th grade. And then I was like, I just needed something that I can win at, because track wasn't it.
But once you got in basketball, what was that moment when you realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this game. I could be good at this game?
Probably when I first started. I remember, again, I didn't know anything about basketball, but Coach Howard was like, you're really good. Like, you can be good. This can take you places. I'm like, take me where? I'm just doing this for fun, because I'm competitive, but take me where? And it has really taken me I was able to travel the world through this sport.
Yeah, it's something. It's just amazing. I remember those days. You guys had a great friendship, just as I think about those days at Crestview. It was almost like a family,
Yes.
Everybody was competitive, wanted to win, and then just continued on throughout high school and next level. So it was great. You mentioned being a competitor. You've always been a fierce competitor and not backing down. And I watch you sometimes just will your teams to win. We're not going to tell people you're probably the best leader ever seen, that we're going to win this thing. How did you develop that trait, or did it just come naturally? How'd you develop that trait?
I think
it just come naturally?
I think it just came naturally. I've always been a motivator. And not necessarily a motivator, like, I don't know, I was just, how can I explain it? I don't know. I just always had to win. I grew up with 3 older brothers, the only girl. And I think part of that was being told at a young age, I can't do something because I was a girl. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm a human, they're human. Why can't I do it? Right. And so it was just always one of those things that it's like, I can do it. No one's going to ever tell me I can't do anything, because I can do it, because I'm a human being just like they're human beings. So I think it just came naturally. Even to this day, all my friends is like, she's bossy. She tells everybody what to do. It's not intentional. It's just, I'm an alpha female, and it's like, I want to get things done. So come on, and I take everybody with me. It doesn't matter.
That's it. Oh, I remember that well. As we began to talk about your AAU basketball experience, we started to take ABC AAU basketball, and having you on the team really just took it to a whole nother level. But the beauty of that is, I remember your first AAU national trip was, I think you rode out with Logan to Ogden, Utah. All in
Yes,
Utah, all in
yes,
Utah. I remember
yes,
that one. And I remember when you came back, you had to say anything, but I knew that that experience you had, you wanted everybody else to have that experience.
I did.
The next time to be with your friends, that
I
everybody
did.
can have that experience. So can you talk about the beginning days of, we see AAU basketball now, how big it's gotten for girls. Can you talk a little bit about that beginning times of AAU basketball?
For me, it was crazy, take ABC. I'm like, what is this summer basketball? I don't know if you remember, but I had on like jean shorts and I didn't have basketball shorts, I'm playing in jean shorts and BKs with holes
Right.
in them, it was just
Yeah.
like out there for fun. And then when I realized like, oh, this thing is pretty cool. And then, like you said, take ABC. I think we were inner city, of course. I think we made it, but we couldn't afford it. I think it was, I can't remember.
Trips,
And so I think it was you came to me and said, hey, Logan wants you. And I'm like, I'm not going with it. I'm not leaving my team. You like, no, it's a great opportunity, go. So I was like, okay. And it was just amazing. Just to see the world, right? Like you see a map and you live in this city, you see the map, and you're like, what does those cities really look like? Those states really look like. And so to be able to go all the way to Utah, I was like, wow. And funny story, I promise you, we were in a city. My mom couldn't afford, Nikes and all that. So when I went on this trip, she bought me some Payless shoes, right? The plastic ones. So, but when I go on the trip, everybody got on Nikes, right? And I'm slipping and sliding these plastic shoes, right? So I was like, man, I need some Nikes. So my crazy self throws the shoes in the trash can and tell the coach that somebody stole my shoes, right? He started laughing like, okay. And he got me some Nikes, but he knew no one stole those shoes. I just wanted some Nike shoes. And it was like, when I put those first pair of Nikes on, it was like, wow, I'm actually got some grip. I'm not slipping and sliding. But that trip in itself made me work harder because I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted basketball to allow me to travel the world. And, even now, some of the players that I played with my first time I seen in the league. So it was just amazing to see the growth of the AAU basketball. It was just amazing for me.
So speaking of that experience, can you also talk about how that experience prepared you for success at the high school and collegiate level, at the next level? How did the AAU experience prepare you for that?
It just showed me that you have to work so much harder in AAU because everybody has talent, right? And what it did teach me is that in the AAU is like, and I say this, when playing with the Caucasian teams, it was like they were very X's and O's, And when we played in the inner city, it was street ball. And that playing AAU basketball taught me a little bit about the game, right? About setting a screen, about, doing all this. I'm like, oh, okay. And so that allowed me to bring that back to my team and instill in them about being disciplined and, just doing the little things to be successful, because that's going to separate you from one team and another. And one team may have better talent, but if you kill them with the X's and O's, so it just taught me a lot about being disciplined. AAU taught me about being disciplined and just continue to being a competitor.
You've always been a leader as a point guard on your teams. What qualities would you say make not a good leader, but a great leader? There's definitely a difference between good and great. What are those qualities that separate the leadership?
I think one, I always think as a leader, you must be a servant. And as a leader, you must be willing to do the little things. And sometimes it's the dirty things that people don't want to do. And for me, I didn't have an ego, right? I'm in my mind, I wasn't a big time scorer, but I was a leader and I knew where to get the ball and how to lead my team and how to get the best out of my teammates. And I just learned that trait that some people I can, get in their butt, yell at them, and other ones I had to, rub their back a little bit and say, hey, the team really needs you to do this, so just learning how to communicate with my teammates to get the best out of them. So I think to be a great leader, it really is to be a servant and pay attention, and just be willing to do the little things.
Through all your success at all levels, middle school, high school, collegiate, Penn State, WNBA. Can you talk about the coaches and people along the way that encourage you to be successful?
Absolutely. Just starting with Coach Lee and yourself, I think for you, Tim, you really taught me how to be grateful and how to be humble. I know we always laugh at that trip when we took that trip and I went and spent all my money on gifts and I couldn't get back home.
That was Cleveland. That was Cleveland. That was Cleveland. I remember that one. That was Cleveland.
And I had raised all this money because I was so excited. I went to the mall.
I remember that.
And I wanted to buy everybody who helped me a gift.
I remember that. And
I realized I didn't have a ride home. I'm like, how am I going to get home? So that's funny. But just that just taught me how to be humble and just be thankful, and grateful for the people that you have around you. And then I had Coach Bruce Howard, and he actually, funny story is, this is when I knew I had that competitiveness in me. Is we were eating lunch in middle school, and he asked me to, we all sitting at the table, and he asked me to get up and get him some French fries. And I was like, what's wrong with your feet? Like, why you want me to get up? And he called me lazy. Oh, you late, he's always mug. You lazy mug. You so lazy. And I was like, right. But for whatever reason, that triggered me. And from that day forward, I never wanted to be called lazy. And so for that day forward, no one could ever call me lazy, because I was always going over, beyond, doing extra. And then when I got to high school, Coach Lee and Coach Rob, Mr. Lee taught me to separate basketball and life, right? So Mr. Lee used to fuss me out on the court. You think you're All-American? She ain't no All-American. She ain't All-American in practice, right? He would just be on me tough. And then afterwards, it's like, you want to go eat? I'm like, no, I don't want to go eat with you. After you did this, like, fuss me out, because I'm like, no. But he taught me, like, what happens on the court stays on the court, right? Because that's your job. Once you leave there, you leave all that on the court. And that has done wonders in my life. That's good. And then when I went to Penn State, Renee Portland, she really taught me about Title IX and fighting for women's rights and fighting for the things, which I had when I was younger, but just had somebody else really show me the rope. Like, don't let anybody tell you no. Like, if they can get it, you can get it. Now, you may have to work a little bit harder, right? And then again, she too taught me the game of basketball as a whole. Like, so you can talk to me about basketball and I can visualize it in my head. I had several coaches. My main coach was Dan Hughes, and Dan was just funny, but Dan just really taught me about, again, just being a competitor, right? And so, yeah, and then as a coach, I just try to take all those things that I learned from my coaches and instill it in the kids that I used to work with.
That's great. Yeah, we take a little bit from everybody and just put it all together, and it becomes our own, who we are. You are blessed to be a proud mother of triplets.
Yes.
You truly are a model of sports and mothers and continue to play. Can you talk a little bit about your village and your family? Because I know during those times, even now, how important that your family and that village around you to help you doing that with your children.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember when I got pregnant, I was like, Mom, what am I going to do? My career's over. She's like, no, it's not. It's just beginning, And so, I mean, it was great. I mean, everybody worked during the day, but I was at home with them. And then when the people come home, like, they would take them. Everybody would take one. Everyone had their favorite. Everyone would take one. Yeah. So it gave me a break, gave me a chance to go work out. As I talked about, Dan Hughes, a very loyal family man. He actually, I was with the Cleveland Rockers at the time. I would go up there and train for a week, do appearances to make money. He had bought me a Stairmaster to stay in shape. He got me in touch with the Ohio State strength and conditioning coach, Shalisha Fonza, and she got me back in shape. And so it was just amazing to see the support that was around me to help me get back. Everybody wanted to see me come back and get in shape. And even now I'm still blessed with an awesome family. a support staff. As you know, no longer with my mom or my dad, but my mom just was an amazing, amazing woman, and my dad was just as supportive.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know that. I saw that firsthand, whatever you were involved in, they were definitely there, supporting you in the way. And now, wow, you come full circle now, having a daughter playing college basketball at Oklahoma. How has that journey been for you now being on the other side as a parent, not a player?
It's been great. The boys play too. They're out in Montana State University Billings, which is a Division II school. So I got all three of them, a 4-year school, full scholarship.
Awesome.
I actually trained and coached my daughter since she was in 3rd grade. And I took what Coach Lee said, and even with the boys, like I would train them, but it was like, when I'm on the court, I'm mom. When I'm off, on the court, I'm coach. And coach is different from mom. Let's get it right, and so when they seen coach, they was like crying, like, oh, I want my mom. I'm like, there's a difference. But what I told them, which worked wonders, and I encourage anybody to have kids that coach their kids to think about this. After practice or games, I told them, give me 5 to 10 minutes, talk about the game. After that, we didn't talk basketball again. Right. And it done. So I was able to transition from coach to mother. And I may yell at them on the court and fuss them out, but as soon as we left, I love on them. You did a great job. Here's the great things you did. I'm only yelling to make you better, that whole thing. And so it's done wonders. And I have a really close relationship with all my kids now that they're in school. I'm not a helicopter mom. I'm not a helicopter parent. I don't call the coaches. I don't call checking I tell my kids, call me once a week. Tell me when your game is. I watch the game. I come to the games, and I'm just a fan. And at the end of the day, after the game, whether you played or not played, play well or not played, you're going to get a hug, and we're going to have some fun. Basketball's over. And it's just been a blessing. Like my daughter, she still calls me, Mom, can you help me with this? They were doing this in the game. I'm like, okay, let's watch it. Let's see, And I'm like, well, Vea, why don't you do this, 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 or this? And so she still calls me to just kind of analyze the game a little bit, but I'm over. Basketball is done, right? So I'm just a parent, and I just enjoy watching it.
Well, you said something great there for parents, and I want to kind of piggyback on that. If you could speak to what you said about being a fan. You're a parent, but then being a fan. And sometimes we see in today's game, parents kind of, and just being honest, they cross that line. They kind of cross that line that they want to become more than what they should be. Can you speak to parents about being a fan?
Yeah, your kids are going to do the best that they can. And you have to support them. And think about it. Yes, my daughter got a Division I scholarship. My boys had to go to JUCO first because, it's political, right? They didn't get the exposure that they needed to go to a top D1 school, whatever. And maybe they're not D1 caliber. And for me, that was okay because I needed them to get a scholarship, right? It's life after basketball, right? So some people get so caught up in basketball is who you are, and it's not. And so I'm just a fan of my kids. Even now, my kids, we talk. They was at a junior college for 2 years, and then they got a full ride to a Division II school, and they're playing a sport that they love. And again, I'm just a fan of them because they've worked hard to get to where they are, regardless of where they are, or they may not be where we as parents want them to be, but they are where they're supposed to be. Right? I'm a firm believer in, God has a path for all of us. And we as parents can't dictate where the Lord wants our kids to go, right? And so they are where they're supposed to be. And I'm just a true friend of theirs because this is their life, right? This is their life, their journey. I live mine. And I want them to experience all that they can experience and let basketball take them places they've never been before, because that's what it did for me.
We have and I tell parents all the time, your family being in sports, we have to expose our kids to what we do. They can make that decision. That's what they at least expose them to it. I've been in basketball, me and my wife, our family for a while. And so it took, Carmel never wanted to play basketball. We were playing, she hid.
Right.
He tried to play. We just stopped looking for it. But then one day it hit her. She began to realize, my dad is helping all these other people get scholarships, whatever, to play basketball.
Right.
He must know a little something,
Right.
But it was up to her. It was up to her when she decided just being like I said, just being a fan. Yeah, I had to work on that because I had that little squirrely look on my face all the time. And she would look up there and she would think that she was doing something wrong. So I had to catch myself, and make sure my facial expression. I tell people, make sure your facial expression is right. Now keep that little smile. Keep that little smile.
And it's funny because all my kids, so when I would go to the games in high school, if I wasn't coaching, I was center court, half court, on the floor, right? Yeah. And I'm just sitting there because I need to see both ways.
Right.
And the thing that my kids got used to is that whenever something happened or something didn't go the way or whatever it may be, they could look at me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things was like, I would just clap, you're fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or you good, don't worry about it. Yeah. Or hey, you got to pick it up. And a lot of times when the team was shooting free throws, my son would come stand right there by the corner and I would just talk to him like, hey, make sure you look for this, look for that, or you need to relax. You're forcing your shot. The little nippets as they go. Like, he's like, Mom, I can't hit nothing. I said, well, play defense. Right. I said, start with a layup, And so just not, you got to do better. What are you doing? Your head's not in the game. I didn't do that because the kids already feel pressured, they already, you feel a certain way. So as parents, it's like, just be their fan. Just cheer for them. You can be real with them, but still be their fan. Don't let everything be a criticism about what they didn't do. Tell them babies what they did right and how you just proud of them for getting up and playing this game.
Yeah, right. Just
it gave me something to do, too much to do, but
I talk to athletes all the time about how great talent will get you in the door, but great character keeps opening doors. And as you look back over your life, doors have just continued to open up for you, and I believe because of your character.
Well, thank you.
You're now with Nike. Can you speak to young people about the importance of character in sports?
Man, it is huge. But what I want to remind athletes that having character doesn't mean you're a sellout. Having character doesn't mean you have to kiss somebody's bottom or, whatever. That's not character, right? For me, character was just being who you are, right? I was very passionate in what I did, but I was also respectful. And I think character just really comes down to being respectful. Like there's times I wanted to fuss people out or cuss my coach out or whatever, or had a disagreement, but I didn't do that because I respected my coaches. This one instance since I talk about character that I think really gave me the longevity in my career was that it was a coach who was just evil on a court, but she was well connected in the community, right? And so in my mind, I knew that I wanted life after basketball. So I had to suck up my pride a little bit. And, we had our disagreements on the court, but I was never disrespectful. I went to the other team and I still reached out to her. Hey, how are you? Whatever. And so now because of that, she would vouch for me, right? For anything. I can call her today for anything and she'll vouch for me because I didn't let on the court affect my off the court. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong. It was very, very hard. But she just wasn't a great coach, but she just got in position. But that character alone, and doing what's right. You know what I mean? Like doing what's right. Don't try to shortcut. Enjoy the process. Go through the process. Don't shortchange the process. And just let your character speak for itself.
Yeah, you're involved with Nike now. You're working for Nike. Can you talk about how that came about and what you're doing with Nike?
The WNBA and Nike has a partnership now. It's called the WIN program, WIN, Women in Nike. And what they're doing is because we give of ourselves for 10 years. I played 10 years, right? 8 years, 8 seasons, but I was in the league, 9 or 10 years. But some of them go overseas, so they don't get the background to do an internship or have a job. So when we retire, we have no experience besides basketball. And so what Nike is doing is taking our retired athletes and giving them positions, not giving them, but applying for positions at Nike to learn about business. And it's a 2-year program where you get put in a position, you work, and after 2 years, it's like, is this a good fit? Right. So you can you can say, no, it's not. And we have a couple people that left and went on to different things.
Mhm.
We have some that stayed, that's now is being promoted in Nike. So it's just a great program that they're doing to help out women athletes. It was just the WNBA, but we just expanded. We have a few soccer players and Olympic runners in the group now. So just women at Nike, and I just love what Nike is doing. Yeah, they're just amazing in that sense.
That's been awesome. Yeah, lastly, as we turn the corners, look back on your playing career, motherhood, coaching, community work. What one word would you say describes Helen Darling and why?
Oh, I knew you was going to ask me that. I thought I was going to get away from that one. There's many words that I think I could use, but the one that just keeps coming to mind is light. And that's actually what my name stands for, Helen. First, I was like, why are you naming that old name? You know, I was named after my grandma. But, you know, I looked it up and it means light. And I think that is one word that describes me, is just light. Like I try to bring light into everyone's life. I try to shine that light. I try to help others, you know, see themselves in the light and be who they are. Be an expression of yourself in the light. Like it's okay. Go into the light, see yourself. And I try to just bring that out. And so I think the word light really kind of describes who I am and where I've gone in my career, as I brought light to many different people, and exposed some of my friends to different things they never would have been exposed to. And just eager to follow that light, you know, like where is it taking me? Where's the end of that tunnel? And I see the light and just really following that light.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for what you just said, following that light, because we know that God has a plan and a purpose for all our lives, you know. And then we also know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord, called according to his purpose. And I want to thank you for shining the light on Take ABC, because having you part of the program really gave us a spotlight for the program, and it opened up doors for others as well, you know, for those coming behind. And so I want to thank you for that, being a part of that, and the great woman that you are now. And I know God's got bigger and better. He's got some great things ahead for you. So I want to thank you for your time, and it's just been a pleasure knowing you and really knowing you, know, knowing you from those slip and slide days and that Cleveland story. I remember you brought some flour. That's where all your money went to give us some. I remember that you had a book that you were taking home to mine. I remember that.
Yes.
But it's been good. As we say, we've come a mighty long way.
Yes. Jean shorts, you know, like I still laugh. Like, I can't even, if I start sweating some jean shorts now, I'm like, what in the world? You know?
Mighty long way, but God is good.
But you never forget where you come from.
Amen.
You never forget where you come from, because it really it was the foundation of who I was, you know, and it helped shape me. And I always tell kids, life is bigger than the city in which you live. You know, go travel.
Amen. All right, Helen. Well, I appreciate your time, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Tim. Yes.
All right,
Thanks.